Hello guys, welcome back to SWS Boxing. Delighted to be joined with Dan Garber. He is 5-1 with one knockout, and he's fighting Thomas Carty on the Katie Taylor, Shelton Cameron undercards. Yes, and over 8 rounds in. How are we, mate?
I'm all good. Yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
My first question for you is, how did you get into boxing?
I got into boxing. My uncle, my granddad, my dad were all into boxing. My uncle was a heavyweight who boxed in 80s and 90s. He was quite well known over here. He fought people. He fought Lennox Lewis. He boxed Henry Akin one day. Boxed Joe Bugner, John Fury, Axel Schultz. So I think he had 47 professional fights, and it was just going to gym with him really as a kid. You know, seeing him on TV, getting the magazines, things like that. I was just always around it really. I just got the bug for it really. I think I went to a place called Bradford Police Boys with a trainer called Pop Allen when I was about 13 or 14. So that's when I started as an amateur. And I stopped for, I think I got to about 16 or so. And I stopped for a couple of years, basically due to playing football at the time. I was doing quite well with it. I went back to amateur boxing when I was 19. I went with my uncle's old trainer called Maurice Thomas. That was at First Sport. So I started boxing then again competitively. I think all in all I had about 19 amateur fights. Won 15 of them. And I turned professional. It was back in 2017. I think my last fight. Won a couple of Yorkshire titles, things like that. Never really entered any, like the big it would always, you know, I entered things like the novices, under 10s, under 20s. Never went in senior ABAs. I was always in gym though, sparring with decent pros and stuff like that. So at the time, my cousin's partner, he's called Femi Fentola, he'd boxed Carl Johansson, got a British title, and he was a former English champion himself. I think it was Super Feather. He took me to a gym in Batley for a bit of sparring before I was fighting for a Yorkshire belt as an amateur. And I was sparring some other heavyweights there. And he said to me, have you ever thought about turning pro? And I said, not really. I think at the time, I was like, I'll have been about 30 years of age. I thought, it's too late. You know, I can't do that. So he said, no, you could do all right with it. He said, you might as well get paid for it. You know, he said, you're doing 3-minute rounds as an amateur. He said, why don't you just go do 4 3-minute rounds as a professional and earn some money from it? So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. So that's how it all started for myself, really.
So your dad's, would you say, was your idol when you were growing up?
Regards to boxing, like I say, with my uncle who got me started with it. So, you know, I looked up to him, kind of thing. You know, when you're a kid, when you're like 8 and 9 years of age and stuff, and you know, you're seeing like a family member boxing on TV, to you think they're a superstar, obviously, don't you? You know, at the time it's a big thing. And like I say, he went in with some really big names as well. Like I say, like Lennox Lewis for one. So
how did he get on with those fights?
Well, I don't think the Lennox Lewis one lasted quite that long. But like I say, it's Lennox Lewis. He's one of the best of all time, isn't he? I think he got stopped in first round in that one. John Fury, there's a video that's gone viral of that fight. He actually knocked him out in 4th round. Axel Schultz, I think he went 8 rounds with him. He beat Joe Bugner Jr. And he beat a guy called a Finnish guy, Henry Heinemann or something like that. I think he was an Olympic bronze medalist. He boxed him in his debut at York Hall. He actually beat him as well.
Good stuff. So you going on back to yourself, you made your debut back in 2017. Does it feel that long?
Not really, no. Not when you look back. It feels like yesterday, but like I said, time goes so quick. Made my debut in 2017. I was supposed to make my debut. Actually, that fight came about quite quick. I was booked in to fight in Hull at the time. sold loads of tickets. I think I'd sold like 150 tickets for it. I had coaches ready and everything for taking people to the fight, and the fight actually got pulled at the last minute. So it was a bit of a rush around then trying to get another fight, and we got this one just before Christmas at the time. So I took that one, and then my next fight after that was back in Bradford. I think that were around April or May time in 2018.
And then did you semi-retire after that one, or?
What happened was, at the time, I'd gone for my medical redoing. I'd actually failed an eye test. And then the coronavirus obviously came in and things like that, which put a stop to small hall boxing. So I kept training. I had a bit of time out. Actually went to see a specialist regards to my eyes, and he said, your eyes are fine. Went and did a few more eye tests, actually passed it when I went again to do them. So reapplied for my license when I was getting itch back, obviously, when this coronavirus came in. You know, there was not to do. I was training at home. I was running every day, and I was looking at my times for my running times. You know, the what best had ever been. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another go. I thought I don't want to look back, and you know, I thought I didn't give it my all, kind of thing. So I started training again. And I decided I'm going to, instead of boxing as a cruiserweight, I thought I'm going to box as an heavyweight. I mean, I'm 6'5", so I was always coming down to cruiserweight, which obviously is like 14 stone 4. So I thought, you know, I'm not going to lose the weight anymore. I'm not going to starve myself and things like that. I'll just box it. I'll box at my walk around weight, which at the time I was walking around at about 16 stone. So I decided to box at heavyweight, and you know, I signed with a guy called Glenn Banks, who's my manager. And to be fair, I wish I'd have met Glenn when I first turned professional, because I mean, he's like a mate, is Glenn as well. You know, he's not just a manager. He looks out for you. You know, he won't just throw you in with anybody. You know, he always asks you your opinion as well. You know, he won't just make a fight kind of thing. And he's kept me busy, to be fair, really busy. I think this is my 6th fight or something this year. You know, we've got this opportunity now on a massive show and platform, really, against obviously Thomas Carty next week.
But before then, we'll talk about your 4 fights recently. You had Ryan LeBourne last year in April. I mean, it was in April. It was November. October, sorry.
Yeah, I think it was October, November, something like that.
Yeah, it was one of them.
Yeah, so obviously I made me come back against Ryan. We had an opponent who pulled out, and then it was a nightmare getting an opponent. And to be fair, Ryan took it on the week of the fight, to be honest with you. And Ryan was really a really good amateur back in the day, and he's not a heavyweight, obviously he's a cruiserweight. So obviously Ryan stepped in, and bit of a tricky fight. He's a southpaw like myself, you know. We haven't had any southpaw sparring, but that had obviously been the same for him. It was a 4-round fight. I think I won that on points. And then I boxed again. I think it was Jake Darnell, end of November, yeah. So I boxed Jake Darnell in Bradford. Again, won that on points. I felt pretty good in that fight. I was comfortable. You know, we'd been working on stuff in training and things. And Jake's he's what I call a good journeyman. You know, he knows his way around the ring, kind of thing. He's got a good defense.
Been in there with top people at heavyweight.
He has. I think he made his debut against Fraser Clark at like 3 days' notice or something on a Sky show. But yeah, Jake knows his way around the ring, kind of thing. You know, he knows all tricks. He's experienced. So it was a good learning fight for me. Being in there with someone obviously who were heavier than me as well. Won that on points, and then I think I was back out in March then against.
Which you unfortunately. You suffered your first defeat as a pro, and you lost to Lamag Griggs, 38-37.
That's right. That was a 4-rounder. It was it was an awful fight, to be honest with you, to watch. There were a lot of holding in it. It was a 4-rounder. First 2 rounds, I won the first 2 rounds, and then unfortunately I got a point deducted off me. I think it went in last round from referee. That cost me the fight, basically. Would have been a draw, but that point deduction obviously swung it in his favour. But like I say, we took it on chin, we regrouped. Got with a new trainer called Andy Lowry.
Was it tough to take that defeat?
It was tough, yeah. It was hard. I remember afterwards, I was in changing room. I didn't want to talk to nobody. For a few days, I didn't want to speak to nobody. To be honest with you, I was devastated because obviously I had some big plans. What were going to be getting offered to me, and I thought it's going to set me back. Is this? But what I did was I changed trainers. Went to a guy called Andy Lowry, who actually worked my corner for that fight. But I thought I'm going to go train with him full time in Halifax, and I'd been offered another fight like 4 weeks later. It was actually abroad, and I was just itching to get back in there. I just said, I thought, I need a fight. And, Andy said, look, you just need to take a step back. We need to get a proper good 6 solid weeks in together, see how we gel and see where we are. Because that's the thing with me. I'm just, at times, I'm too eager. I just thought I need to get that fight out of my head, basically, because it wasn't me that night.
Well, you proved that in your fight after, where you returned back at Bradford and you put those demons aside and you beat an undefeated Indian fighter who was 3-0. It couldn't have got any better, knocking out an unbeaten fighter.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think he'd won all his fights by stoppage as well at the time, or he'd had 2 wins by stoppage. And I think as an amateur, he was a national champion, 2-time national champion or something like that. So we got that fight made. I'd watched a couple of videos of him, and I thought to myself, styles make fights kind of thing. He was one of them type of guys who just looks for a right hand, basically. I don't think there was much finesse with his work, no footwork. He didn't really have a jab. He was just used to throwing that big right hand and catching people. I think he was about 6 foot, something like that. So quite a bit shorter than me. So I took that fight. I was never out at gym. I was in every single day with Andy, every day. And he got me in a really, really good shape, to be fair. We worked on everything, and it got me in a good frame of mind as well, mentally, which has always been a big thing for me. It's always been a confidence thing when I'm fighting. And obviously that's a massive, massive thing in any sport, especially when you're doing it professionally. So I sold a lot of tickets for that fight, and there were a lot of pressure on me because it had been mentioned whoever won that fight would get a big opportunity going forward, like as a TV fight, as an opponent. So I actually did say as well, if I lost that fight, I wouldn't box again. So I put that pressure on myself. I spoke to my dad about it. I spoke to my uncle, and I did say, I said, if I lose this fight, that's it. I'm done with boxing. So obviously, I remember getting to the venue, and this time, unlike the last time, I was walking about talking to people. This time, I just went straight into change. Got weighed in, straight into the changing room, and just totally focused really on the fight ahead. I didn't go. I wasn't walking about, pacing up and down, speaking to people. My son was there as well. He come with a couple of his mates to watch. So I remember got to the ring. Bell went. He come out and he threw that right hand, which I moved. Obviously, I slipped it, and I was jabbing him, moving about. And I remember his feet getting tangled, and me falling over, like he tripped me. But then when I got up, I caught him with it was a left hand, a big left hand, and then I hit him with a right hook, and I caught him on around about where temple was, and he like froze in midair kind of thing on spot. and I were expecting referee kind of it to jump in, but referee said, keep fighting. So I remember my uncle shouting, finish him, like, and so I stepped on gas and ended up getting him out of there. I think it was like a minute and a half into the first round.
I mean, how did that feel? I mean, yeah, like how did it feel like knocking almost your sort of comeback fight, knocking somebody out? I mean, in the first round as well, couldn't have got any better that night, could it really?
No, not really. It couldn't have gone any better for myself. It'd have been, I suppose it'd have been nice to get a couple of rounds in, but I'm not going to complain. You don't get paid for overtime in boxing, do you? So if you can get them out of there quick, you've got to take the opportunity and do it.
And coming on to your upcoming fight, which I do believe is a week Saturday next week.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, against Thomas Carty, who's the current Celtic champion, and just talk about how the fight has come about.
Well, basically, what happened was, so after the fight with Nishant Sharma, we were looking to get out ASAP. So I was in the gym, and then I got a fight date for August. So we trained through that fight, then got pulled by the promoter on the week of the fight. So
can you say what show it was on, or do you just want to just keep that one?
It was a show in Bradford, in Leeds, actually, that one. So that got pulled by the promoter. I think it was a financial decision. I think a few fighters had dropped out, and a few fighters were struggling to sell tickets. And obviously, for small or boxing, that's what it is. I don't like it, but that's what it is. It's all ticket based. The fighters have to sell the tickets, which is a job in itself. So that got pulled. Then another show got arranged for September, which got pulled again by another promoter, I think for the same reason. So I thought, right, that's two shows that have gone here. So we found another show that we're going to be on in October, and then that one got pulled as well.
Nightmare.
On fight week, yeah. There was an amateur show the week before, and they'd had some trouble there apparently with crowd fighting and things. So the council at the time actually pulled all boxing in Bradford from amateur level to professional level. So they stopped all boxing. So that was 3 shows I'd been training for, all fall through. So then a guy called Denzel Brown, a promoter from Leeds, got in touch with me. He says, look, I've got a show on November 17th over in Leeds. They'd actually fought on one of his shows before against Ryan LeBon. That's where I made my comeback. So he says, do you fancy it? I said, 100%, yeah. Obviously I've been training now solidly for like 3 months now. 3 months. So we're training for this fight. We'd got the opponent and everything sorted. We're fighting a guy from Scotland. And about 6 weeks ago, I got a text message from my manager, Glenn. He just says it was from a guy called Tom Dallas, who's a matchmaker for Matchroom. He said, look, we've seen that Dan's scheduled to box on the 17th of November. We've got a day on the 25th of November over in Dublin against Thomas Carty for such and such amounts. Obviously, I didn't have to sell any tickets, but as soon as he offered me it, I was like, well, yeah, let's sign it.
It's almost like it's go time.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing was then I wasn't allowed to fight in Leeds on the 17th, which will have been this week, because obviously Matchroom, they don't want any injuries or all like that, which would put me out of the fight next week, obviously, which I can understand. But it would have been nice to get a few rounds in, before obviously going over there. But it is what it is.
Well, you are coming off a knockout win, so it is good.
Yeah. Confidence-wise, yeah. I would have liked to get back out there, because obviously that was like 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. But I've took time off work. Been training now twice a day. We've stepped the sparring up to 8 rounds. We've had some good kids coming down to spar with myself. So the sparring's been going well. Everything's been stepped up. I've got a dietitian and everything. So I'm not cutting any corners. I'm also training with a guy called Mally McKeever, who works for GB Boxing. in Bradford at the university. So I do 1 session a week with him as well. So it's all going good. You know, there's no pressure on me at all. It's the first time I've gone into a fight with no pressure on me on whatsoever. I mean, obviously, Thomas is a step above anything I've ever fought. But in that sense, I think I'm a step above anything he's fought as well, to be fair. But Thomas had a massive, massive amateur background and all. And he looks the part, you know, he's doing well. So I can't say I'm negative about the guy. You know, he's stopping guys. And obviously they're building him up to be Ireland's first world heavyweight champion, is what they're saying.
What's your thoughts on his last performance against Jay McFarlane?
Well, I watched the fight, and thing with Jay McFarlane is he's a good boxer when he wants to be, but I don't think he turned up to that fight in the best of shape, to be honest with you. I think he weighed in at over 20 stone. It looked like he was carrying quite a bit of weight, and he's a big guy, and he stood there basically in front of him, obviously trying to get his shots off. But when you're a big guy like that and you're a sitting target, that's going to play into someone like Thomas Carty's hands, who he relies on that. He's got a great jab and he's got a big up left, and that's what he landed basically to finish the fight. So I'm not going to go over there and stand in front of him like that. You know, my game's all about movement. So we'll have a look in that first round, see what he does, see how he reacts to things. You know, I'll be on my toes in and out.
Because he comes he comes out going for the knockout, looking for the knockout. As he says, no Carty, no party. Are you going to change that to no Garber, no party?
Well, hopefully we go and spoil that party. But I've watched his fights. He comes out, he takes that ring centre, and I wouldn't say he's what you call a fast starter. He establishes himself straight away. He takes ring centre and he dominates behind that jab. You know, he has a look at you for 1 round kind of thing. And like I say, he's got a really good crisp jab. And then what he does is he starts to go through the gears then, you know, in the second round, the third round, he starts to pick it up kind of thing. But when he does that, I mean, I'm not going to be stood there. I'm going to be making him use his legs. He's a big guy, you know, he's weighing over 18 stone. So I know my game plan. Obviously, I'm not going to give too much away. You know, the stuff I've worked on with both southpaws as well. So when you've got 2 southpaws, it's never a good clash of styles. It never is. You know, it's awkward. It's cagey. It's sometimes the pace is a bit slower as well. You see the shots are coming from different angles. You're both used to fighting orthodox fighters. So
have you been sparring southpaws in the build up to this? I expect.
Luckily for me, most of my sparring is actually done with a southpaw. So that's a good thing. And we've had a guy come down who's a Scottish international. You know, he's been to Commonwealth Games for Scotland. He's a pro. He's a similar size to Tom. He's about 6'3", 6'4", but he's probably a bit bigger than him physically. I think he's about 20, 21 stone, and he's a big, big guy. So we've been using him, been doing it in a bigger ring, and you know, we've been doing a good 8 rounds at a decent pace. So obviously on fight night, like I said, I'm going there now. We know all the pressure's on him. You know, he's from Dublin. He's the home boy. He's the one who's got to make the big impression with Matchroom. You know, there's nothing on my shoulders, no weight at all. So all left is just go doing there, just go and box really.
How excited are you to be fighting live on DAZN?
Well, this is, you know, it's a massive, massive opportunity, and there's no bigger platform. You know, it's what I've always wanted. I used to think, is an opportunity ever going to come? But it's like my uncle always said to me, you'll always get an opportunity, especially being a heavyweight. In the heavyweight, you know, it's not like any other division. You get some divisions where a loss or a couple of losses, nobody really wants to know. Everybody loves a heavyweight. I mean, you look at guys like Derek Chisora, he can lose 4 on bounce. He has 1 back and he's fighting for a world title kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not going to be fighting for world titles, but I'm just trying to say, you know, the heavyweight division, there's always opportunities there. And obviously myself, you know, coming off a decent win over an unbeaten fighter, This will be second unbeaten fighter now that I'm fighting in a row.
So your rankings will keep going up and up.
Well, it just taking, yeah, like I say, my rankings are going to go up anyway. Just taking this fight against a guy who's ranked so highly anyway. So I'm in a no-lose situation. I mean, we've already been offered now, just because we've taken this fight. I won't say what I've been offered, but I've been offered a very good fight back in around March, April time as well for somebody who's going to be making his comeback.
Interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
See, now you've accepted one fight. They're all going to start coming in now, aren't they?
Well, that's it. I mean, for me, I'm not going to lie. I always go there to win, but it's all about the money for myself. Boxing's a business. You know, I'm not bothered about titles. I'm not bothered about as such. I mean, if
would you at least want to win like the mid? Of course, your area ones. Everyone likes winning their area.
I'll be honest with you. I've been offered it. I've been offered to fight for a central area title now twice, and it just don't pay your bills. It don't interest me. Do you know? Nobody remembers really a central area champion kind of thing, and that's no offense to anybody who wants to fight for the central area, because it is a prestigious belt. I suppose it's been around for years, but it's all about the money for me. For what I'm getting paid for this fight now, I'm never in a million years going to get anywhere near that boxing for the central area.
Pretty much all of your last fights combined have not been as much as this.
No, that's what I mean. I'm getting 10 times what I've ever been paid. You know, sponsorship's been really good for it. So it's going from this to then fighting on a small hall show again for for a small purse, should I say. It's not something I really want to be doing. You know, depending how this fight goes, if I get offered, like, say, if I get offered a fight in Leeds or another one in my hometown like Bradford, I'd think about taking it. But then I want to be straight back into a big fight for some like this. Like I say, you know, you get exposed. Once you get a taste for it, you want more of it, and that's what it's always been about. At the end of the day, it's a business, is boxing, so you've got to make as much money as you can from it.
Do you believe you knock Thomas Carty out, or are you just saying Dan Garber win?
If I envision the fight, how I envision it, I'm gonna have to outbox him. Do you know, that's how I envision the fight.
Do you think would you go as far as saying he's a bit wild?
At times, he can be wild, but that's as well with the opponents that he's fought. They've been just like sitting targets for him. A lot of these Eastern Europeans. Some of them haven't turned up in any kind of shape whatsoever.
So do you think this will be like one of the first times that his chin will be getting tested?
Well, I'm definitely going to be throwing shots back then. So I do, yeah. I mean, I know it's going to be hard as well in getting a decision in Dublin, but anything can happen in heavyweight boxing, and that's the beauty about it. It only takes one shot at any time in the fight. I mean, it could knock me out. You know, there's no two ways about it. But I know I punch hard enough to cause. I mean, my record. I don't think my record reflects how hard I do punch, to be honest with you. But I do know if I do catch him, and I do get him in trouble, if he walks onto something, then I'll try and take my chance and get him out of there.
Is there any nerves fighting on the zone, like going? Like, of course, you'll fly over next week. But is there any nerve, like, just going into it?
But there's always nerves going into any fight. I mean, this is the biggest fight that I've ever gone into. Obviously, it might be the biggest fight that I ever go into, to be honest with you, on a platform like this. I think there's 25,000 tickets being sold for it, you know, and we've got one of the main TV slots on it, so it's going to be packed. But like I say, I'm going over there with no pressure. I've got nobody to impress. You know, there's no pressure on me whatsoever. So I've just got to go over there and enjoy it, really. I mean, there'll be nerves, of course there will be. There always is.
Have you
But,
got any people coming over with you to come and support you, or?
Yeah, I've got my granddad's actually from Ireland, so that's the reason why they've been mentioning about this Celtic title being on the line. My granddad's from County Mayo, so I've got I think I've got about 25 people or so coming over. So yeah, it's not too bad.
Good stuff.
I mean, it's an expensive do as well, so I appreciate any support that I get really for this one.
What? So is it for the belt, or is it not?
Well, they've advertised it for the belt, like on one of the posters, saying that it's going to be defending the belt. Now, the Irish Boxing Association put a post out yesterday about our fight on Instagram, saying it's yet to be decided if the belt's going to be on the line or not. To me, it makes no difference, to be honest with you. It's still a fight. End of the day, fight's a fight. So.
But would it mean more if the belt was put on the line? Like, would it mean slightly that little bit more?
Yeah, I think, of course, it would. Obviously, it'd be nice to, say I fought for a professional title, and I think it's more prestigious than it is a lot more prestigious than a central area title. It's a whole of Scotland, Ireland, and Wales at the end of the day. It's on par probably with an English title, should I say? So yeah, I mean, it would, yeah, and especially with my granddad being from over there as well.
And have you got a message to Thomas Carty and people? Like, what can they, like? I mean, not such like a message to them. I mean, like, what can fans expect from Dan Garber?
I think they can just expect, I'm going to go over there and give it my all, really. Like I say, I've nothing to lose. I'll be going to cause the upset. And I'll go into every fight, to win, basically. I'm not going there just to make up the numbers. I feel ready. I'm fit. I've had a good training camp. Sparring's been going well. So we've got another probably week of solid training now. We fly over there next Wednesday. We've already got a gym sorted out in Dublin as well. Funny enough, to train there Wednesday and Thursday. We've got the press conference on the Thursday. And then we've got the weigh-in on Friday. And then obviously it's fight night on the Saturday. Roughly
what time do you think you'll be fighting?
I think I've got the first TV slot. So
about 7?
I think between 7:30 and 8 o'clock is what I'm thinking.
Good stuff, mate. Start the show off with a bang.
Exactly. Cause the upset.
And for anyone who... do you want to just thank whether that's manager, trainers who's given you this opportunity, or just people who are helping in your career at this moment?
Yeah, well, obviously, my trainers, Andy Lowry, he's been a massive help. We've been training now. I'm in the gym more or less every day with Andy. He takes a lot of time out. We've been working on new things together. He's took my fitness now to another level as well, to where it was. Then obviously my manager Glenn Banks as well for getting it over the line. Then there's Mally as well, who I do a session a week with, and obviously just my family as well, who obviously support me through it all.
And from me, mate, a massive thank you for taking your time to do this interview, and good luck with the fight. I'm wishing you all the best.
Oh, you're welcome, bud. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, mate. Good luck with the fight.
Right, mate. Bye.